In the zone, yes. There is the state of mind that many of us have experienced that's called flow state, or being in the zone, where you're completely absorbed in the activity that all outside perception goes away. So you're so into whatever you're doing that your mind doesn't have any attention left over for anything external. This is the state where the mad scientist who's working on his invention day and night forgets to eat, forgets to sleep, forgets to shower. He's just working on the invention for days on end and finally creates this monster or whatever it is. You see it in children where they're so busy playing, they don't realize they're hungry, they're tired. Where they come in after playing and they have a meltdown. I know this, my son has this frequently, where he's so absorbed in playing, he doesn't realize that there's external needs that need to be met. Some people get it when playing music. Some people get it in sports. There's almost every activity of life you can experience this zone or this flow state. Anyone here experienced that kind of thing before? Yeah, quite a few people. Yes. So, tonight we'll talk all about the spiritual and material implications of the zone.
Timing! I should have echoed then. Zone.
All right, how's it now? That sounds better. Let's see. All right, overview of the talk. I'm going to describe the zone in some more detail. I'm going to talk about the material science, the spiritual science, talk about some of the limitations of the zone. And we'll do a few simple exercises to put it into practice, how you can achieve the zone by spiritual techniques. And finally, we'll talk on what is beyond this zone or flow state. Well, that sounds good. We can get started. Okay, let me start with some quotes. Okay, hang on. My remote's not working. Manually advance the slides. All right, so here is one researcher talking about the zone. He said, or flow. Flow is a harmonious experience where the mind and body are working together effortlessly, leaving the person feeling that something special has occurred. It is because flow lifts experience from the ordinary to the optimal. And in these moments, we feel we are truly alive and in tune with what we are doing. Once attained, flow experiences remain etched in the memory. Right. Here is a quote from one of the authors of a spiritual text we study here, Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, while writing, he writes this in his book about his own writing, I have now become too old and disturbed by invalidity. While I write, my hands tremble. I cannot remember anything, nor can I see or hear properly. Still I write, and this is a great wonder. In writing his book, he's in the zone. Everything external just goes away. And here is Ayrton Senna, famous Formula 1 car driver. He says, I felt as though I was driving in a tunnel. I had reached such a high level of concentration that it was as if the car and I had become one. So, him driving his car, he's in the zone. He's completely one with the car. Full in concentration. One experience that allows me to frequently reach into the zone is running. I really like to run. Here's me a couple of years ago running a half marathon, and I had a great time. I was in the zone running along. The person behind me, not so much. She's like, oh no, this is painful. I love running. Other people get into the zone by playing computer games. Any gamers in the audience? No? Yeah, one or two. anyone play this recent popular game, Overwatch?
My son should be here somewhere.
Yeah, your son? Maybe. Okay, no one's experienced this game. It's a popular game played by both casual people and professionals for prize money. But I play a short video of someone playing Overwatch. You can see their hands in the video and what they're doing. And you can see the intense amounts of concentration required. And for someone that's not familiar with the game, probably, tell me afterwards, you have no idea what's going on. Let's try this. There you go. I won.
Come in here, please.
네, 너 어디서 넣으시? 나눔이.
You're powered up. Get in there.
What? Oh. What? Oh, okay. Right. That one. 나누겠지? Maybe? I'll see. Point? Special life point. One more. Coming. That's left.
And you're like, they won because I don't know. Some game if you're into it, but who could follow that? Okay, yes, great. So the professional gamer who play this professionally and make a decent living doing this. These are gamers like here's on the left is the best New Zealand Overwatch player, Color Hex, Kelsey Brissy from Queenstown. He's moved to Boston, joined the Boston Uprising, professional esports team. And esports, in case you don't know, is playing computer games for money competitively. And it's bigger than certain physical sports. And it is reasonably physical. If you're watching the guy's hands as he was playing the game, it's all kinds of really fast reaction movements, and generally you have to retire by the time you're 25 because your reactions aren't fast enough anymore. Kids have much faster reactions than adults. And then on the right there's Sinatra, who is the current best player in the world. Koreans are the best gamers in the world, but living in America, and German mother. So, oh yeah, in terms of prize money, our New Zealand best player has made a respectable $7,000, but Sinatra has won $270 just in prize money, forgetting sponsorship and advertising on all these things. So, if you see, some parents say, "Don't play computer games, waste of your life." No more. Probably make more money than you. But you have to be really good though. All right. So people that get into playing games, you can really get into the zone playing a game. One more experience that can result in the zone. So let's talk about the science of the zone. We all know what we're talking about. This being the loft, where we talk about the ancient yoga wisdom of India, some background knowledge in what it means to be spiritual and what humans are and what we're made of. The Krishna literature explains that the human experience is composed of a physical body made out of matter, a subtle body made out of mind, and the self or consciousness made out of spirit. And these are, the spirit is covered by the mind, and the mind is covered by the body. What happens when we get into the zone is that the mind gets completely absorbed in some experience, and you have this experience of the body going away. The body doesn't matter anymore to our experience, and that brings us closer to the spiritual experience of full consciousness, because this external covering of matter is reduced in such a way that we're almost like a mind detached from body. This is how athletes can push themselves beyond physical limits where their body physically can't work anymore, but still, by the power of their mind, the body continues to move. And because the mind can only process so much input at once, if there is complete absorption, complete concentration in the mind, the body loses relevance. And you have this inner clarity, you have this intrinsic motivation. You're not conscious of time or the external environment. And it's exhilarating. But the one thing to remember and keep in mind is that the zone is not a spiritual experience. Anything involving the consciousness is spiritual. People throw around the word spiritual casually, but scientifically, talking from the Krishna literature, spiritual is only something that involves the consciousness. So the mind is subtle, it's beyond the physical body, but it's still not spiritual. So a mental experience is not a spiritual experience. We'll come back to that. So to get into the zone, scientists who have studied this state of mind, have put together this chart that explains what you need. You need high challenge and high skill activity to get into the zone. So going through this, let me ask for some volunteers. One volunteer can be anyone. It'll be really easy. Let's do all right, what's your name?
Richard.
Richard? All right, Richard. I'll give you a low challenge, low skill activity. Can you please clap your hands? Again. Are you in the zone? No, didn't think so. Yeah, more like apathy. It's like, yeah, okay. All right, low challenge, high skill. Are there any people in the audience that can speak German? There's always someone. All right, yes. German travelers and invading New Zealand. In the summer, there are more Germans here than New Zealanders. I'm originally from Germany. I can talk. Wie geht es dir?
Wie geht's dir?
Wie heißt du?
Lukas.
Lukas, ja, wir haben uns schon getroffen.
Ja.
Gefällt dir die Luft?
Ja, ziemlich gut.
Yeah. Okay, so for the rest of you who don't speak German, extremely high skill, because you have no idea what we're saying. But for Lucas here, it's easy. It's like, yeah, of course, I can speak German, no problem. So that's relax. You can speak German all day, no problem at all. High skill, low challenge, not the zone. Were you feeling the zone, speaking German? No, clearly not. All right, next. We need a volunteer. Another volunteer. Can be anyone. Come on, take a shot. Should I pick someone? All right. You, what's your name? What's your name?
My name is Oldberg.
Oldberg?
Yeah, I'm from Norway.
Oh, happy that you're here. All right. Something high challenge. You were all dreading the high challenge. That's why no one volunteered. High challenge and low skill. Do you know anything about software development?
I did do some DOS prompt commands 30 years ago.
Yeah, okay, that's close enough. can you please come up here and speak for an hour about horizontally scaling machine learning applications on Amazon Web Services?
Absolutely not.
No, it'll be fun. I'll test you afterwards, and we'll charge you money depending on how well you do. Most people would feel some anxiety doing this. Myself, working as Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer for a legal AI company, I have no problem talking about that. I would actually get into a flow state doing that sometimes, because it's high challenge, high skill. For normal people who have a different skill in a different area of life, that's like anxiety. Oh no, this is scary. Most horrible thing I could possibly imagine. So yeah, high challenge, high skill, that's the holy grail where we can get into flow. Something that is difficult and we are skilled in. Of course, the problem with difficult things that we're skilled in is the better we get at something, and generally the more you do something, the better you get at it, it becomes a low challenge if you've done it so many times before, and you get into a relaxed state. So the zone goes away. You need to find ever more challenging things in order to keep getting into the zone. But if you want to get into the zone, find something that you're really good at, and find some incredible challenge that challenges that skill, and perform at your utmost. Then you can get into this altered state of reality known as the zone. But that highlights another limitation of the zone, in that it's temporary. You cannot stay there forever. Even if you're doing something that is beyond the body, eventually the body's needs make themselves known. And the more you do the activity, the more you're in the zone, the less likely you're going to get into the zone in the future doing that same activity. So it's kind of a self-defeating thing. Another limitation of the zone is that it's some people think, oh, the zone is such a great experience, it's all good, it's like the perfect experience. But no, the zone has no, there's no value judgment associated with the zone. It's neither good nor bad. So some people are really skilled in using a sharpened piece of metal known as a knife. Some people get into the zone. These two people, both in the zone, using the knife. Both are experiencing, have a quote-unquote spiritual experience using the knife, fully in the zone. One person is using it for a good purpose, another person is using it for a not so good purpose. But both can be in the zone. So it's not necessarily that the zone is a good thing. And leave it as an exercise to the audience to know which is which. Also, so a lot of people ask me, well, can I just take some drugs to get into the zone? Can I take LSD, magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, all these things that are popular, somewhat popular, and get into the zone, and then I can experience something like this. I'm told taking acid, that's how you perceive the world? Someone did a simulation. And yes, you can take these artificial substances. I'll leave this on to just mess with your mind. You can take these artificial substances to transform your consciousness into flow state, into the zone, but beware of unearned realization. If you just take some substance and transform your consciousness like that, you haven't earned that state. And that state will be even more temporary than it is otherwise, and will have negative side effects. So every drug that you take that messes with your mind, and ends up, I meet people who have overindulged in these things, and their brain is broken in some serious way. So while like once or twice, most people are fine. Some people even once completely messes up their mind. anyone that is taking substances to alter their brain chemistry ends up with side effects, addictions, and mental brain damage, basically. So I would not recommend it. There are other ways. So you might think to yourself, okay, so how do we get into this zone consciousness state in a sustainable, useful way that is practical and spiritual at the same time? Can we combine all these things and get like the holy grail flow state? And the answer is yes, you can, by various spiritual techniques. So I will talk about these now. The first, which is very popular these days, is mindfulness. People have all these things cluttering their mind. And mindfulness is a way to overcome these and clear the mind. And you can find great happiness by having a clear, peaceful mind. And this is great. Mindfulness, I do it, it's recommended. It is the baby version of meditation. There's so much more. But for beginners, mindfulness is a great thing, and many people are getting into mindfulness. So let's try some very simple mindfulness meditations for everyone. You can take this away. Please, everyone, close your eyes and just observe your thoughts. Take a step back from your conscious mind that is listening and just observe what your mind is thinking. Let thoughts flow. Don't dwell on them, just observe them. Let them pass and be peaceful in just thinking about your own thoughts. You might be thinking about what's happening, something I said. You might be thinking about what you're doing later. Observe the thought, let it go, let it pass. Wait for the next thought to come in. If there are no thoughts, that's fine too. Just be peaceful in the moment. All right, open your eyes again. I can notice the difference in the consciousness of the audience. Yeah. So mindfulness, it's useful, it's nice, but there's more. So jumping right into the ultimate state of meditation, the perfection of meditation, known as samadhi. Some people have heard of samadhi as a state. Here is the description in Bhagavad-gita for what samadhi, the perfection of meditation, is. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from the material mental activities by practice of yoga. The mind is material, as I said. Bhagavad-gita, spiritual text extraordinaire, explains all this stuff. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self being the consciousness, being spiritual. In this joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, transcendental beyond the matter. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. Upon gaining this, one thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even amongst the greatest difficulty. This is indeed actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. If you're in the material world with a material body, your body gets sick, your body gets harassed by various natural disasters, your body gets harassed by various people sometimes. Everyone here has gotten sick, everyone here has had a bad experience dealing with someone, everyone here has something in nature affecting them. Rainy day, stung by a mosquito. So all these miseries go away if one is in trance, fully in the spiritual zone, known as samadhi. There's two different ways of getting there. One is the so-called yoga ladder of meditation. People think yoga is just asana, just physical exercise, but no. There is 8 stages of of yoga, and 5 of them involve various levels of meditation. First is yama and niyama, which is morality and discipline. So morality, being a good person in various ways, not doing anything bad, and niyama, discipline, doing various activities that are good, being clean, accepting voluntary austerity, and so on, not being truthful. And then there's asana, which are physical yoga postures that are very popular today, which are a great exercise, recommended. And then there's pranayama, breath control, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So pranayama is also sometimes part of physical yoga, breath control, where through the breathing meditation, people can gain a higher state of consciousness, can clear their mind. And because all about practical yoga experience here at the left, let's try some. All right, let's close our eyes again. Closing eyes helps shut out external consciousness and makes it meditation so much easier. Just cuts out one more distraction. And we'll be inhaling for the count of 8, holding for the count of 4, and then exhaling for the count of 4. And repeating. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale, hold, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please open your eyes again. How was that?
Lovely.
Yeah. So pranayama, breath control, another form of meditation. And there's pratyahara, withdrawing the senses from their object. This is not interacting in the outside world. This is why yogis go to a cave somewhere in the Himalayas, so there's no distractions. The senses, it's described like the senses are like limbs of a turtle. A turtle withdraws all the limbs into the shell and can be peaceful in that. So, pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. Then there's dharana, concentration, which is complete absorption of the mind in one object. Being completely absorbed in one activity, being in the zone, essentially. And dhyana, meditation, where the mind is completely still. There is no absorption in the universe. This is merging with the Supreme. This is a state of where there is not even a chance of any distraction. And then there's samadhi, which is spiritual trance, which is where one is fully aware of one's consciousness, being one's spiritual body, one's consciousness, one's very self having manifested. So the mind and the body disappear, and one is completely conscious of the self, of the consciousness, which is the ultimate state of meditation. And yogis can do this and go through the various stages, start with yama and niyama, work their way up, and eventually end up in samadhi and be fully spiritual. But if you read Bhagavad-gita, Krishna describes this yoga system, and Arjuna, who is a really powerful warrior and king, he says to Krishna, after hearing, O Madhusana, which is a name of Krishna, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. He's basically, I can't do this. Unlike one of the most advanced people on the planet, but too hard for me, this yoga system. Yoga, too hard, can't do it. So, Krishna answers, well, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So, yes, you can do this yoga system, and it's recommended. It's not like, even though it's impossible to act, but some people can do it, but for most of us, it's really hard to come to samadhi by yoga. There is a different path that gets you to the same samadhi, which is bhakti yoga, which Krishna is describing here, where whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever, connected to a spiritual purpose, and in that connection, you can gain the same understanding. And the basic spiritual practice of getting there is studying the yoga literature, Krishna literature, such as Bhagavad-gita, and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, as it's known in Sanskrit. Chanting can be done as we did earlier, with music and as a group. Chanting can also be done quietly to oneself via what's called japa, where you have some beads and you repeat a mantra quietly to yourself, and it's a form of meditation. And unlike the yoga system, which is good, and I recommend everyone can practice yoga asana and breath control and all these things, this is a much simpler, in one sense, process. But it does take a bit of surrender of one's ego. So you can practice the spiritual meditation, you can study the spiritual knowledge, and in that way you can gain spiritual realization and ultimately merge into samadhi, but not merge into samadhi at the same, merge into attain connection with Krishna. And in that connection, in that loving relationship, that creates this experience of the zone. So, I have one video. Anyone know who this person is? Yes?
It's free solo?
Yes. There was an Oscar-winning documentary about him, Free Solo. I like this, but this was an earlier film about him called Alone on a Wall, which I like a little bit better. The Oscar-winning documentary was great too, but it's Alex Honnold. He's a mountain climber, and probably the best mountain climber in the world, and he does what's called free soloing, where he climbs a mountain without a rope. And he definitely gets into the zone doing that. That's probably part of the appeal of why he does it. So this really nicely illustrates the zone with its strengths and limitations. So I'll show you this clip. It's about 8 minutes. And you can see, as you're watching, try and see how absorbed he is in his activity of climbing the mountain. And also see how the zone is such a temporary state where he can only maintain that for so long, and he needs ever more difficult climbs to get into that zone because he's such a good climber. Basic climbing wall is so ridiculously easy for him that he can't get into the zone doing that. And see the reality of this flow state that is never satisfied, and therefore completely material, but at the same time so amazing and impressive. So, oh yes, and for anyone watching this generally gets really sweaty hands. You'll see. It's normal, don't worry.
In the high-stakes game of free solo climbing, Alex Honnold is the best in the world.
Free soloing is climbing a route without a rope. No protection, nothing. There's no room for error.
Tell us who you are and how long have you been climbing?
I'm not I'm Alex Honnold. I've been climbing maybe 12 years.
So when you meet Alex Honnold, you're going to be like, huh, this guy is a bumbling, dorky, awkward, kind of goofball.
Is it kind of like this?
Do you have girls in here a lot?
Do I look like I have girls in here a lot?
Until he steps on the rock, and then he's literally a whole other person. He becomes this poised, graceful, calculated, badass dude doing the hardest, biggest free solos in the world.
Honnold solo and Moonlight Buttress is pretty much the most mind-blowing thing that's happened in climbing ever.
Moonlight Buttress was inspiring to me because it's such a beautiful, perfect route. The position is amazing. Like that's half the appeal of the route. Moonlight was like 700 feet of continuous splitter finger crack. Just like a 1-inch fissures up a straight blank wall. Basically, you just put your fingers straight into the crack and just turn them a little to the side and they just wedge in there. Finger locking feels very exposed. You only have like a tiny amount of skin inside the crack. You know, like half of 2 fingers. And your toes are just pasted against the wall. So little of your body is actually touching the rock, and then it's just all air around you.
You fell off that thing, one clean shot to the ground. To be able to just ignore that 1,000 feet of air below you and be able to still perform and focus. No one else out there can really do that the way that he can.
Counting my breaths, making sure I'm not pumped, you know, like getting the little stances and shaking out for a minute. The little things that you have to think about in order to do it, you know, like left, right, which sequence you're doing. But I mean, there's nothing that I'm really thinking about. I'm just doing it. So about 750 feet up Moonlight, you get to the crux of one of those pitches. It's an amazing feeling. It's super exposed. You just have like a cubic inch of finger shoved into the crack. And then you have both your feet just kind of pasted on little nothings. Feel like you're stepping into the void. Like your whole body is in the air. Sometimes when I'm soloing, I do have those moments of anxiety where you're not totally sure what you've gotten yourself into. Shake it off and keep climbing. All the factors are under my control. That's why Moonlight's like the coolest thing ever. Yeah, it's like the full freaking, like the one arm off the key structure. That's so cool. That was a pleasure. It's an amazing feeling. The 100% certainty that you will not fall off it is what keeps you from ever falling off of it. Being totally certain. That's when all of a sudden it just becomes peaceful. It's so free to climb that way. Pleasure. Now and the bar, baby. The position is amazing. By the time you get to the top, you're climbing on the very tip of this buttress that narrows and you get high. Super exposed air all around you. This is awesome. I mean, you know, how do you think about this? Like, we're gonna ride.
It's kind of hard for people, I think, to comprehend or wrap their minds around somebody being able to do what Honnold can do.
Looming above California's Yosemite Valley The iconic 2,000-foot wall of Half Dome is a far bigger prize.
Climbing Half Dome took me 2 hours and 50 minutes, and it's hard to be completely focused and completely on your game for that long. Basically, when I'm soloing, normally I have almost like a mental armor. You can say I'm in the zone. I have something that's, let's say, protecting my head from thinking too much. And for whatever reason on Half Dome, I ran out of whatever armor I had. Found myself like 1,800 feet off the ground. I was like, what am I doing up here? Why am I doing that? You know, just all the questions all of a sudden entered my mind. I think doubt is probably the biggest danger in soloing. Because basically as soon as you start to hesitate, then you're screwed.
Just a second, maybe not actually.
I just had this like mini nervous breakdown. Nothing really happened. It just all happened inside my head while I stood there for a few minutes. At some point in there, I just dealt with whatever was going on and then just climbed it. Once I made that move and was suddenly into the easier terrain, it was fantastic. And I just charged the summit.
But I slip down, down to find the sleep.
Northwest face of Half Dome without a rope. It's a marvelous thing to even consider the mental mastery that's necessary to actually do that.
Climb from all the way from that valley, all the way to where we're standing now. But you know what? That's impressive.
Thanks.
I think it's crazy. Too close to a death wish.
You must be not afraid of heights at all.
Not really, no.
Yeah, impressing girls is definitely a reason to solo walls. But so far it hasn't worked at all. But I'm still optimistic.
All right. He does have a girlfriend now. Yeah. So, who got sweaty hands? Yeah, everyone. Good. So yeah, you can see how the zone is temporary and how it needs ever more difficult walls to climb, and how it's so incredibly absorbing and blissful that you can't stop. And we all have that to a certain extent in all our activities. So, in summary, flow state, or the zone, is an amazing state of mind. It is supremely absorbing, and everyone that does it loves it. It is a mental state of mind, and it is not in any way spiritual. It is beyond the body, which makes it interesting and not really comprehensible by kind of grossly material analysis, but it is completely mental, not spiritual. It is also temporary, very much so, and while very satisfying, is not ultimately satisfying because of its temporary nature. Samadhi, which is complete absorption and connection with Krishna, is a spiritual experience because it connects the consciousness to another consciousness, to the supreme consciousness, Krishna. It is a spiritual consciousness which is beyond the body and beyond the mind. It is eternal because our eternal real self that moves between bodies and reincarnation is not bound by time. And that produces the supreme happiness of pure love. That is beyond the zone and the true, in one sense you could say, the true meaning of life, and what we're trying to teach here, and the ultimate spiritual experience. And I recommend that everyone try it, because that's what the Loft is all about, teaching people about how to connect this truly spiritual experience that is beyond the zone. If you want to try it, talk to any of our staff here and ask them for a copy of the book, one of the various books. Ask them to teach you how to do meditation. It's really easy. Anyone can do it at home. I recommend start with about 5 or 10 minutes a day, and your life will be transformed. Mine certainly has been. So, but it's all completely voluntary. If you're like, no, I'm good, it's fine. I do recommend that. And just like learning to free solo a wall, it takes some skill. It's not like a quick, easy thing. You do need to invest a bit of effort into doing it, but it's far safer and a little bit more sustainable. So, thank you very much. Any questions? Anyone have a question? Yes, in the back there.
You know the second breath, like column. Is
Yeah.
that possible?
Oh, absolutely. You mean that? Yeah, totally. I know many people who have achieved this. Entirely practically possible. Cool. I don't know anyone who's achieved samadhi by the yoga system, but there are people. There's like a handful maybe in the world. But this, yes, many people have done this. Any other questions? Yeah, yes.
I'm quite intrigued by your background because you work in AI. I'll assume like a fair deal of machine learning in that field as well.
Yeah.
How has your spiritual practice sort of like affected the way that you see your work?
Well, for one, it certainly helps me deal with work stress and challenges better. And while I have a PhD and have materially a scientist, deal with computer science and data analysis, machine learning, and all these things, it's actually quite, it helps understand the limitations of computers and what they can do. Computers are not conscious, can never really be, and that means that certain things that humans can do that confound people working in AI, that why can't the computer do something that is really easy for a human? Why can't it understand? Because understanding comes via consciousness, and without consciousness, you can't really understand anything. It's a Chinese room argument for computers by John Searle. I can talk to you about it later, but it basically says that without a computer can do anything but understand nothing. So you can teach a computer to do anything, even better than a human can, but it won't actually understand what it's doing. It has no consciousness. So it's my spiritual practice helps me understand that so much more, and allows me to make a computer do things usefully without having this false belief that one day a computer will wake up, become conscious, and kill us all, become the Terminator. So, we can talk later. A lot more to say about that. Anything else? Yes?
There's a comment. I think it's almost similar to this Kenyan marathon runner who ran a marathon recently under 2 hours.
Yeah.
1 hour, 9 minutes, some seconds. And on the interview, he was saying that, when the body is telling him to stop, something in his mind just tells him to go on going.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use the same compare both of them to the mountain climber.
Yeah.
When he's running, he's in the zone as well.
Yeah, definitely.
For that 1 hour.
Yes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Although he didn't use those words, but it's the same explanation.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the 3 concentric circles
Yeah.
of the body, the mind, and consciousness. Is there space for religion in there, or is this? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
People wonder, is like Krishna consciousness a religion or not? I did a whole talk on it once. Religion's nice. We like people, like religious people, and it's useful for many people. Some people don't like religion and are happy having no religion in their life. Some people have an intense desire for having religion. Krishna consciousness can, worshipping Krishna can be a religion for some people. But Krishna consciousness is not a religion as such. It's a spiritual practice, which often gets confused with religion because there are basically the whole Hindu world worshipping Krishna, among so many other things, as a religion. But Krishna consciousness is where the religion of so-called Hinduism came from. It's the underlying practical spiritual practice. Just like to climb a mountain, you need to practice it. You need to learn the skill of how you climb a 2-inch fissure up a mountain. I can do that. Similarly, you need to learn the skill of how you practice Krishna consciousness by understanding the knowledge, including the divisions of the body, mind, and consciousness, and practicing the meditation to transform one's consciousness to become aware and realize this knowledge. You can have the theoretical knowledge, which is necessary, but then you have to have the realized knowledge of, okay, I have experienced this, I actually understand. I have experienced my consciousness as being separate from the mind, which is a really profound realization. Oh yes, it's actually true, I can feel it. And you get that by chanting and meditation. So, yeah, good question, thank you. All right, thanks everyone.